All right, we're beginning again. This is going to be tape number 14, which is about freedom of speech. 12 and 13 were about freedom of religion. We're still on the First Amendment, but now we're on the second part, freedom of speech. And freedom of speech is very simple. It simply means that you can hold your thoughts in your head and you can express them. You can say them out loud. Okay, that's really what it means, and it's pretty simple. Nothing too bizarre about that, right? Well, there's a couple of things you need to know. Okay, I got my trusty dusty whiteboard here, and there are limits on freedom of speech. And I'm just going to list the limits. One is called a clear and present danger. And we'll use the word the Supreme Court uses, a test. So in other words, what the Supreme Court says in the clear and present danger test is if your words could cause harm immediately, clear and present danger, then you are liable for them. It is not protected speech. So the Supreme Court says imminent danger that illegal action will occur in response to a contested speech. Imminent danger that illegal action will occur in response to a contested speech. So I used it before, yelling fire in a crowded movie theater where there's no fire. That's not allowed. Violation of the clear and present danger test. You yell fire, people could be running out, you could start a stampede, people could die. Not good. Also, there is also what is called the direct incitement test, where your words could incite someone else to do something. Okay? That also is not protected speech. You think of the case of a Ku Klux Klan wizard telling the members of the Ku Klux Klan who are right in front of him, they're all carrying rifles, and he says, "We need to go kill somebody." That's direct incitement. That's not allowed. So basically, what's covered under this are fighting words where you say something that causes an illegal action. You think about, for example, terroristic threats. A woman whose husband is going to abuse her, "I am going to kill you," is what he says. That's a terroristic threat. Okay, that's not covered under freedom of speech. Okay, so clear and present danger, direct incitement. You go to an airport. Okay, back in the days when we all flew, you go to an airport. You can't sit there and make jokes about hijackings. You can't sit there and make jokes about bombing planes or anything like that. Okay, that is a clear and present danger. That's how it's interpreted. You cannot make threats against the president. You don't like President Trump, you can't sit there and make threats about him. You can be investigated, you can be in big trouble for something like that. Okay? And that goes for any president, doesn't matter who it is. All right, so these are the first two tests that they have. Let's go on to the third one. The third one is called prior restraint. Okay, prior restraint. Prior restraint. Prior restraint is very simple. Can you stop someone from speaking if they haven't spoken yet? And you go, "What do you mean?" Okay, let's go back to the Ku Klux Klan. The Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan is going to get up there. You have a copy of his speech. You know what he's going to say. You know that he is going to preach violence. You know he's going to urge his followers to go and kill African Americans. Can you stop him before he speaks? And the answer is no, you cannot. And the reason you cannot is that you have no idea what he's actually going to do until he does it. If you arrest him before he speaks, you are arresting someone for their thoughts. And you don't know their thoughts. You don't know their thoughts. You can't prove you know their thoughts. So therefore, you cannot engage in prior restraint. Okay? Next, going through these pretty quickly, but that's just the nature of what we're doing now. Symbolic speech. Okay? Symbolic speech. Symbolic speech. Symbolic speech. Can you speak without actually speaking? Well, I was just looking, yeah, on my shirt here. You really probably won't be able to see it, but on my shirt here is a symbol for the shirt company. It's a PGA shirt. And what it is the PGA has licensed a manufacturer to make these shirts. There's subtle advertising here on this. Okay, is this saying anything out loud? No, it's not speaking at all out loud. But is it speaking? Yes, it is. It's saying that this shirt is associated with the Professional Golfers Association. That's, I'm not a golfer, but that strikes me as a pretty important thing for those who care about this. So here's the question. Can you speak without actually opening your mouth and words coming out? And the answer is yes, you can. And it is protected speech. And the most famous example of this is a case called Texas versus Johnson back in 1986. And a man named Johnson was in Dallas, Texas, and he decided, yes, indeed, to burn an American flag. Okay, he was at the Democratic convention and he decided to burn an American flag. Okay, is that constitutional? And the Supreme Court, very, very controversial decision, said yes, this is constitutional. If freedom of speech means anything, you have the right to burn the very symbol of the United States, the American flag. People died for that flag, and you have the right to burn it. That's how important freedom of speech is. That's how important symbolic speech is. Okay? Our next one is called corporate speech. It's easy to, sorry. Try doing this on camera. Okay? 5, corporate speech. Do corporations, corporate speech. Do corporations have the right to speak? Do corporations have the right to speak? And the answer is yeah, called advertising. Okay, that's why we have TV advertising. That's why we have radio. That's why we have internet advertising. Corporations have the right to speak. They have to speak the truth. If they don't, that's called fraud. But they have the right to speak. I used to work at J.D. Power and Associates, and one of my jobs when I worked at them back in the early 1980s was that I actually went through a TV commercial that a car manufacturer wanted to produce. And they wanted to make sure that they had their facts right. So they hired us to go through the commercial and look at it and say, yep, you got your facts right. And they did that because they have the right to speak, but they want to be honest about it. Now I say all that, and that leads then to the last one, the last test of freedom of speech, and it's called political speech. Political speech. And it's a very simple thing, political speech. Political speech. Do politicians have the right to speak? And the answer is yes, they do. They sure do. Politicians very much have the right to speak. They can speak. Okay? They very much can speak. Okay? And when they speak, do they have to tell the truth? The answer is no. They don't have to tell the truth. Okay? The assumption is that we will, as voters, sit there and take the time and the effort to try to come up with it and try to cover it so that we will make the determination what the truth is. So politicians have the right to speak, means they also can lie. Corporations have the right to speak, but they can't lie. If they do, it's fraud. Symbols have the right to speak. Okay, it's protected. And then you cannot stop someone from speaking, it's prior restraint, until they have spoken. Okay? And speech where you threaten somebody, terroristic threats. You say, I'm going to kill somebody, I'm going to hurt somebody. Those are not allowed. Okay? Under clear and present danger and direct incitement. That's freedom of speech. Next one, we're going to do freedom of the press.